So, officially welcome to today's Ask Me Anything session. We are talking about the full moon total lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees Virgo. And this one is a big one. So, I invite you to stay with me as we go through the finer details of it so that we can tease out what these energies are so that whatever is going on in your life, and I know that with this one, it might feel like a lot is going on, especially if it is heavily aspected in your chart. So that whatever is going on in your life, you're able to meet with an eye for the energetic pattern of it, and also with the knowledge that whatever has fallen to your plate, no matter the rasa or the taste of what it is, the sensations, the experiences, that there is a balm within you, which is that ever springing water of spirit that will rise to support you in whatever is happening. So, without further ado, let us get into this because it's a doozy. So, lunar eclipses act as hypercharged full moons. And what that means is they are magnetizing things out of the collective unconscious. Because this is in the sign of Virgo, it's magnetizing things out of our bodies to a large extent, and also out of our lived day-to-day realities, as well as our work environments and our schedules. And that'll take place somewhere specific in your chart. There's something being magnetized out of that. It might even feel like it's being magnetized out of your intestinal region. And I just bring that up because some people will have literally a purge during this week of the intestine. Whether that happens or not, you might simply notice that. And so there's things being magnetized out. And what full moons do is they help us to fulfill a cycle from the past and also to clear the way for the next cycle. And so very often at the full moon, there's an experience that allows us to finally let go of something, whether it's a fear we've had of the past or in the past, whether it's an experience or a psychological phenomenon. With Virgo, there's very often an idea we have about what material reality is, an idea we have about our worth, an idea we have about our bodies. These sorts of things begin to get magnetized out. And very often they rear some energy up that isn't pleasant to clear, and that maybe isn't pleasant to face, but that we do inevitably look at and can come to a stronger place within ourselves, because what eclipse season is really about is preparing us for the next cycle. And you guys, everybody is individual. So your life expression, your life experience, we can't, I'm an astrologer. I can't like look at you and say to you, oh, this is what your exact soul decided to do in this life. I can look at the energetic patterning of it, of course. I can talk to you about it, and together we can, alchemize and come to deeper understandings of it together. But you are the key piece there. And so the next phase, the next cycle of your soul. So this is completing a cycle that started in around 2006, right? This is a full circle here. We are looking at what is coming forward for you for the next cycle of your soul. And that could be a spiritual trajectory, that could be a work trajectory, but something is coming forward to be cleared, and something is coming forward to be taken up, a mantle to be taken up in your life. And this will again become clear over the course of the next cycle while the lunar nodes are in Pisces and Virgo. But that's what a lunar eclipse does. But this lunar eclipse is particularly intense. It's because it is very close to the lunar South Node. And South Node tends to have an act of purging something, fears from the past, things we thought we had to have, things we thought we had to hold on to, ideas about our own self-worth. And with Virgo, ideas about shame, particularly shame around the way your body has manifested and expressed itself in this life. And so while, it's so easy for all of us to look at other people and say, well, you shouldn't have any shame. You're a delight. It's very difficult for human beings to look at themselves very often and say, you know what? Everything you are, everything you've been is okay. It's acceptable. And more so than that, it's been an essential step in what is a treasured life journey that has taken you, your like specific secret sauce of your soul, to this moment, to this point in time where, whether you know it or not, you are assisting others in their journeys. So the lunar eclipse is happening very close to the north and south node, or to the south node, I should say. The sun is with the north node. And at this time, Neptune is also with the north node and Saturn is also with the north node. Saturn tends to make things hard, confining, restrictive, and also to put sort of a final stamp or a boundary around things. And so this can be very difficult when in Pisces, because Pisces doesn't like to be bound in. But we're finding at this time our spiritual lessons might be showing up more so in the physical. And that isn't to say that, like, if something physical happens to you that you deserved it or that's not what that's about. But it is to say that whatever happens in the physical realms, now is the time to take the Saturnian aspect, so the reality of it, and to ask ourselves, what spiritual truth can help me, one, overcome this reality? So to understand that the physical reality is not the end part of the story, but a realm in which we are meant to overcome this thing. And then two, see like what is the physical constraint around me or the limitation around me, whether perceived or literal, helping me to work around. What skills am I developing? What layers of my being are coming forward? And of course, if you're in the throes of the grief of it, to also allow those experiences to come forward and to move out of the physical body. Now, Neptune there is going to help a little and maybe obfuscate a little. So Neptune is there, and what Neptune does is he creates the dream realm. And so sometimes we escape to a dream reality because we don't want to be in our physical reality. But in another way, in the most positive way, we can use our dreams, right? The information that come through in our literal dreams, and also the dreams we have or the visions we have that we are imagining for the future, which imagination is the gift of the water signs, the capacity to image something into being from what is a watery substance, right? Mind stuff, to form reality from our visions for our futures. So Neptune can help us form, within our perceived limitations, a vision for the future where those perceived limitations have been used to create something more beneficial than the present moment, okay? Sweeter for you, and then sweeter for all beings. And of course, sometimes I think television has gotten this twisted a lot. So if you ever watch TV and you see these characters and they're in these sort of quandaries, do I do what's right for me or do what's right for the people? Well, in these systems, they teach that these things can't be separate. When you do what's truly right for you, it will in fact be truly right for the people. And vice versa. And so sometimes we get it twisted. We think, well, to be truly, right for others or to do right by them, I have to conform to those ideas of what I should be, to those tasks of what I should be. And these systems teach that that is not the case. They teach that actually, when you do what is entirely right for you, it will inevitably be right for the people because we're not separate. Now that requires some, digging in, right? Because there are some of us who have some scaric pasts that tell us, oh, well, I should do this. But you can know that if what you're doing is harming others, actually, right? Not harming the concept they have, like the ego construct of what they think you should be. That's okay to harm, right? Be yourself. But harming them actually, taking resources they definitely need, harming the physical body, harming the emotional body, these sorts of things. It doesn't mean you have to be like nice and rainbows and butterflies all the time. Sometimes the kindest thing is the most direct thing. But to test, what you want against the collective, what's good for them. And then to also realize that if what you're wanting harms the collective, then that's probably not actually going to be good for you, right? So these two things go hand in hand. What's good for you, what's good for the collective will be similar, and it's our job to sort of tease that out. So we have that aspect of it, the Neptunian, the Saturnian, the sun and the moon. And then we have an additional aspect here, two aspects actually, which is a trine to Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus is an example of a planet that can be kind, so he loves you, but not nice. So he is sort of like a tough love planet who shows up and he shakes things up. And so when Uranus shows up in this trine, the aspect is beneficial. He is here to help, but he is not here to coddle or to leave you in a place of comfort. And that's an important piece to notice because he is in the sign of Taurus, which rules over power structures, abundance, and the earth. And a lot of us have falsely constructed ideas of what abundance is, right? Of what power is. And very often, if you look in the world, there's lots of false power structures and there's lots of false abundance structures that, again, if we do our little Neptune, Saturn, Pisces test, it's like, well, is it good for everybody? And is it good for the individuals who use them? And if it is a system that perpetuates suffering, it doesn't mean you have to throw everything out that's ever happened, but it does mean it needs to be revised and altered to the point where it can be beneficial for individuals, right, who are units within the collective, and then beneficial for the people who are commingling with these systems. And this is going to be true on the miniature scale, like in your life, within yourself, within your body, within your day, and also on the collective global level. And so Uranus is here to maybe shake a few things up. Also, this lunar eclipse is sextile, which is another beneficial aspect with Mars in Cancer. Cancer is another sign of imaging what you want and then nurturing it and loving it into creation and then fiercely protecting it. Now, Mars is a warrior planet, and so this has something to do with your vision for life and the fierce protection of that. Now, it's really interesting here because we are dealing predominantly with earth and water. Earth is the reality we see around us right now. Water is the true understanding that reality has never actually been solid, it's fluid. And these smart people who created astrology and yoga or first delivered them to us, they realized this, which now, modern science realizes that, for example, I have this beautiful Merkaba right here. It feels solid to me. It seems solid. It would certainly hurt, if I threw it on myself. And At the atomic level, it's more space than solid. At the atomic level, it's shifting. And at the time-based level, it's only been this for a certain amount of time, and it will cease to be this at some point in the future. And so, rightly, I think these people who delivered these systems to us viewed true reality as fluid and as a projection of the imagination into the material world. And so that's going to be one of the big challenges here is what are we creating? What are we accepting of as reality? And have you been viewing something, a circumstance, something physical, something in your reality as unchanging or restrictive or forbidding to you that is actually meant to be overcome? Because, and this is the thing, I wish I could like broadcast this idea, and I guess you can because your thoughts create ripples. And of course, we have the internet. You can just post things on the internet constantly. Whether people listen or not, is another story. But the idea that when we face a reality where there are things within it that we do not like, right? Whether this is a tiny reality, I don't like that there are dirty dishes in my kitchen, or a big reality, which I think is maybe even more applicable here, whether on the personal or the global level, that there's something that seems wrong to us. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem, I don't know, fair. It seems to be harming one or more people, right? That is the moment when you notice that it's your task to, yes, not solve everything for the whole world all the time, but to be one of the people who steps in and solves the problem, right? So often people are like, who's going to solve this problem? And in any circumstance, right? Whether it's at an office space where you work or on a global level or in the community. And the answer is the people in the room addressing the problem start to solve it then and there. It doesn't mean you need all the answers, but it does indicate an opening to the imaginatory realm where you begin to see a future that is better and more beneficial. Now, before you go into the future that's more beneficial and better and positive for all beings, something happens first. And that is what we are in right now in this moment, is the purging of the things that are not that. Okay. And this is the painful part, because whether we admit it or not, we are all attached to forms of suffering in some kind, because forms of suffering all have beneficial parts too, right? They don't persist. Like if something's just straight up evil and there's nothing good about it, it doesn't last very long, because people are like, why would anyone like that? We won't do it, right? It's the things that are a little bit good, a little bit bad, right? You think about it like just like really unhealthy food, but it tastes pretty good, something like that. People are like, okay, well, where's the line here? How do we interact with that? Or something where you receive benefit, but there's also something that's harmful with it, which we have so many complex things in the world. There's lots of things like that. And of course, we get attached to our status quo. And the status quo of the world right now does still involve suffering. And so there is a release right now of some of those forms of suffering. There is a transmutation available during this eclipse. It's a very interesting time. There is additionally a Venus retrograde happening now, and a Mercury retrograde happening just about 24 or 25 hours after this eclipse. Mercury retrograde begins. Something very interesting about this Mercury and Venus retrograde is that one, they're starting, I think Venus retrograde started at 10 degrees Aries. Mercury is starting at 9 degrees Aries, so about the same. And they're going back to within 2 degrees of each other. I believe it's 26 and 24 degrees of Pisces. Now, these retrograde cycles are interesting because they are inversely mirroring the eclipses we experienced this spring. We have where the sun is during this eclipse, they're going back to about within a couple degrees. And then they're starting where the next eclipse will be, the solar eclipse in Aries. And so I bring this up because this time is not, it's not like on the full moon day, you'll experience your eclipse experience and it'll be done. This whole time while the moon has been waxing, it's been coming in. And the whole time the moon is waning, it's coming in. And then the Venus and Mercury retrograde cycles will conclude about the time of the next full moon in Libra. So we have about a month right now, and a little more because it's already been happening, that we are doing this work in a concentrated way. And I bring this up because, and I want to, I like this heady stuff. I like talking about the numbers, but I also want to convey the very true human emotion of compassion, because I feel this. I think you probably feel this, and very many people are experiencing very real life shifts and life changes. And so there's a lot of love present here underlying these energies. And there's love that is calling us into this idea of universal love with the Pisces energy, as well as fiercely embodied love with the Virgo energy. So the Virgo energy is like, can you love yourself when you are literally doing intestinal activities, right? That includes pooping, right? Can we love how we digest our literal experiences? Can we love ourselves in our darkness also, which is a Virgo experience? Literally that hidden part of us. Can we love that? And then can we also love the universality of mankind, the humanness of us all, including every human, which sounds nice until you start to think about every human you've ever met or heard about, right? And then you're like, every human, but these two things, we love in the specific, and then somehow, right, we love in the universal, or at least we have compassion. We have an openness, a willingness to love, to redeem, to do all these things. And so there's a lot of energy, and this is leading us into some big energy that I discussed in our yearly forecast. That's coming a little later. But this year, you guys, this is a big thing. Some practical advice during the eclipse. If you're doing yoga, maybe stick to meditation and breath work and restorative. And if it's around midnight in my time zone, so you'll probably be asleep. But if you happen to wake up, meditation, chanting, restorative yoga. In addition to this, it's a good time to take rest, to allow things to release and allow the human experience of the release to happen. So to love yourself through that. And there's also, and I want to bring this up before I end talking about this, a connection to tarot I want to bring up, because a lot of people are undergoing heightened activity in the electrical systems of their brains at this time. You may or may not be experiencing this, but some people will feel more pressure behind their third eye space. And this has to do with, I'm going to show you some tarot cards now. We have the Hermit card, which is the card of Virgo. This is the sign that's being eclipsed. And this card in particular shows an aspect of you, but also the ascended masters. So those beneficial beings who exist, you know, you know as well as I do, I'm on my human journey, you're on your human journey, but there are those who have gone through so many human journeys that they've reached a high level of spiritual attainment, and they stand at the metaphoric mountaintop of attainment, holding the light for us to see as we climb the mountain. And then the card represented by the sign of Pisces is the moon card. And I bring this one up here. A lot of people don't totally understand what this one means. And of course, there's a ton of meaning packed in every tarot card. No one human could unpack all of it. But one of the main meanings that is agreed upon and spoken about this card is you see the lobster, the wolf, and the dog, and then the journey. And you additionally see like stones, plants. So it's like stone, plant, lobster, wolf, dog, and they're showing developments of consciousness, right? And then there's a path. You see two towers, which represent the boundaries of humankind. And then you see that the path goes farther. And so this card represents the path that people take in the road to enlightenment. There's a moment where you go beyond what people can tell you about because we have them written in texts and we know about them and we can talk about them. And there's a moment where you walk the path that is lit solely by beings like this. And so some people will be experiencing things like that, states of opening, states of grace. And so I just want to encourage you, if you have an experience like that, there are teachers out there who can assist you, of course. But I bring those up because they're directly related to this eclipse. Now, before I do your charts and read through how the eclipse is going to affect your personal charts, I want to bring up one announcement, and that is that the retreat to Iceland is happening on October 25th to November 1st this year. You are invited. And we're looking to get signups by April 15th. You get a discount if you sign up by the end of this month, which is March. And you can sign up with just a deposit and then schedule the payments out. But it's going to be really cool. We're going to do DNA activation under the Northern Lights. We're going to be doing astro yoga there. We're going to be integrating a lot of these energies and also facilitating the sacred yogic practices of release, integration, these sorts of things, as well as going to some really cool sites of sacred water. So the waterfall of the gods, as it's called, and then also some really cool hot springs, including one that is brined by the Arctic Ocean and then made hot. So if you're interested in that, please contact me. Please sign up by the end of the month, or at least by April 15th. And you are invited cordially. So now I'm going to start to read your charts.